the
it goes with Dennis Prager. Many of you may know him from PragerU, from his radio program. He had a conversation not too long ago with our friend Anna Kasparian from the Young Turks. Dennis, welcome. It's great to speak to you today.
Well, thank you for having me.
Just to start, and this can be so quick and then we move on, just as a sort of sanity check, I've started to ask guests in this year, last year, the following question. Is there any way to accurately say that Donald Trump won the 2020 election? Just a simple answer, if there is.
So what is this question that is a sanity check? You know, I mean, this is insane. Dennis Prager, though, is about to check David Pakman in his own show. Dennis Prager is not going to hold back as Dennis Prager delivers the schooling to David Pakman. Now, I always say this type of disclaimer lately. I don't know why. It was like, I don't have to agree with like 100% of everything Dennis Prager says. I have met Dennis Prager. He's a very, very, very good, not talker. I hate that. Orator. You know, he gives good speeches for sure. And he knows how to be calm and handle a situation. Now, coming back to this, with elections coming up, guys, elections are like in what? Less than 3 weeks, yo. Like, that's crazy. Like, oh my God, like like a little over a week, right? So I figured, why don't we just take a trip down memory lane with certain questions about things that might have happened in 2020. And let's see how this goes anyway.
Is one, and if not, it's fine for you to explain further.
So I have a relatively simple answer, and I've given it from the election day to this day.
Yes, sir.
I am agnostic, which has satisfied neither the left nor the right.
Okay.
My colleagues on the right want me to say it was stolen, and people on the left want me to say we are certain it wasn't stolen.
Well, and half of the right also wants you to say that, right?
Half of the right wants me to. Oh, that I wouldn't say.
Where did he come up with that? Where did he come up with that? The half of the right? Let me tell you something. Look, okay, we'll get back to that, but Pakman is like, no, not half of the right, okay?
Half. I would say most people on the right believe it was stolen or that there was a good chance it was.
Wow.
I don't know what that gains us, but it's fair that you ask. See, it's funny. You regard that as a sanity check.
I do.
So, okay, so let me offer my sanity check.
Please.
Do you believe that men who say they're women can compete with women in women's sports?
I think in a lot of sports that does not make sense.
So how do you...
Was that the answer you expected? Because you did a little bit of a look to the side there. But did you think I was going to...
No, I didn't look to the side because I took off my earphones.
Understood, sir.
Sorry. He thought he had it. He was like, aha, got you. Got you. He's like, I got you. You know, I looked to the side. He's like, no, my headphones, first of all, I don't know what, they were on kind of goofy too. And you didn't catch anything, right? That's a good question. I mean, if you can't say men don't belong in women's sports, that's a sanity question. Just, yeah. Do you think men belong in women's sports? No. We don't have to get into semantics. We don't have to argue like, oh, well, maybe at some point. No.
I realize that I don't need them. Okay.
But this is a different topic, Dennis.
I'm sorry?
It's a different topic. Do we want to close on the election first?
Oh, well, you said you just wanted to ask that question for a sanity check.
Okay, and you're agnostic is the answer.
Yeah. So I am agnostic because so many things happened that were odd or unique. Like it was the first time that a president had ever, an incumbent president had ever gotten more votes than he did in his first election and lost.
Now, that is odd and unique to me too, by the way. Number two, I'm not sure if I already said it yet. Please don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button and the notification bell. Thank you so much. Appreciate everybody who watches the videos. Now, coming back to it. Dennis is saying those kind of things, and that makes a lot of sense. You guys have to, like, people want you just to accept everything. I'm not even going to get just yet into the full, like, details of what happened in 2020. But what I am going to say at this point, I'm not going to see weird things happen and say, oh, well, comme si, comme ça, well, it was this situation or that situation or maybe this or that. Like, I'm not here to write off the most bizarre looking thing immediately. Okay, guys, I remember that night. We thought we had it in the bag. Yes, we. Okay. And I woke up and all hell was breaking loose. I was like, what is going on? It did not make sense. Trump was surging, and you cannot tell me that there were that many, write-in, whatever, votes. Like, you can't tell me that there were that many mail-in ballots that were genuine enough to do what ended up happening. You just can't. It was weird. The whole thing was weird. The whole time was weird. Why do we even have mail-in ballots in the first place? Just, with no excuse mail-in ballots. Why do we even have that? Because one thing I do remember was Fauci saying, nope, y'all are not going to put this on me. If you guys practice, whatever they were doing, 6 feet under, whatever, I don't know. This is the nurse who doesn't remember because it was stuff I'd never heard of before. But if you practice this clean way, whatever, you guys can do the vote. It can happen. So I'm not telling you to do mail-in ballots because they did try to put it on him. And he was like, no. I never said you can't go in and vote.
All the swing states went in his favor. That 17 of the 18 counties that are considered bellwether counties went in his favor. Those who think something bad happened are not out of their minds. Okay.
I mean, we don't have to make this the subject of the conversation, but things sometimes happen for the first time.
No, you can't just sometimes happen for the first time with your whole presidential election. You can't. So, and by the way, again, it was not sometimes happen. So he needs to stop.
And I guess the question I would ask as a follow-up would be, did you see compelling evidence from any one state that suggests that Joe Biden lost it even though he was given the win? Is there a single state where you feel confident it was stolen?
Georgia might be one of them. Pennsylvania might be one. And of course, people say, because I love to have people I differ with on my show.
So before he gets finishing, because he said, finish it, before he ends his statement, he said, Georgia, Pennsylvania. I remember I saw a lot of stuff in Georgia after the fact, but I live in Pennsylvania, right? So I knew the stuff happening during the situation. Pennsylvania, I forgot what it was called, Act 76 or something, guys. Please drop a comment below if you remember. It was probably the most egregious thing that happened in Pennsylvania that destroyed everything. They did no excuse mail-in ballot without asking the voters. Before you do such change, this kind of a change, especially when it's going to go against our Constitution, because our Constitution says that we can have absentee ballots for people who request them, military, sick, things like that, right? Nursing home, but we don't have no excuse mail-in ballots. Still to now, we don't have it on the Constitution, right? So if you're going to make these kind of big changes, you're supposed to ask voters, I believe, twice before you actually make the change. They made the change in 2018 during Trump's presidency, right? Without telling anybody, and then the reasoning for it was the COOF, right? Okay, but nobody had heard of the COOF in 20. How did you know? Right? That's number one. Number two, when they did that, there was something else that they forgot to, there was something else that they switched up to, or they did wrong. They fired one of, I believe, the secretaries of the legislature or something like that. Guys, forgive me. When all of this was happening, I knew it like the back of my hand, okay? They fired her after the election, and Governor Tom Wolf at the time, he made sure to say, this has nothing to do with the elections. When they fired that chick for the mistake that she made, I knew why they were tying up loose ends. And I said, it's because of what happened in 2020, they used her as the scapegoat, okay? And then our then Attorney General Shapiro said he would make sure our votes got certified. We had a judge come from a different part of Pennsylvania, like a smaller court judge, right? Who said, do not certify the election. She put a stop on the certification of the election, and then another judge they overrode her. It doesn't feel right. She was overridden, right? And then they certified the election. I watched this happen here. That has nothing to even do with mail-in ballots. By the way, I'm registered to vote in Pennsylvania. I've received a mail-in ballot in New Jersey to my old address when I used to live with my mom. Makes absolutely no sense. So that's the point. So you can't tell me that things didn't happen. This is a presidential election. We're not supposed to have all of this Confucius. You know what I mean? Like, we're not.
And so I read the left. I only wish the left read the right as much as I read the left.
Well, I try to, but what evidence was there in Georgia?
You probably do. I think if you do, you're atypical. But in any event,
yeah. What's the Georgia evidence?
All the time that courts dismissed all these cases. That's true, but that's the tragedy. See, if I were an America-loving Democrat, and there are 11 America-loving Democrats, and there are America-hating Democrats. There are both. But there are America-loving Democrats. If I were one, I would say, please, let us air all of these complaints. Yeah. Let us have some type, as close as we can, to some neutral authority. Not rule on it. Just allow the American public to hear what evidence there might be. And I'll add another thing. If one believes, and I'd love you to respond to this.
Yeah.
If one believes that Donald Trump is a neo-Nazi fascist.
Something I've never said, but we could maybe find someone who believes that. Yeah.
Okay, calm down. Like.
Well, okay. I believe you haven't said it, but it's not germane to my argument, whether you said it or not. It's said often that he is a fascist. Excuse me. That he is a fascist is constantly said on the left, and so if you believe that, aren't you morally bound to cheat on his behalf? For example, if I were in Germany in 1932 during the elections.
Okay, so we already know he's going to make the whole, you know what I mean? He's going to make the whole comparison with AH and all that, and then that becomes that, right? But I get the point that he's making. He's like, if he's such a dictator, this horrible fascist, whatever that even is anymore, all these ists, I don't believe in much of any ideology. I just think that people are out to do things for themselves anyway. So I digress. Wouldn't people feel bound to cheat for him instead of, for Biden? Like, I get that point that he's making, but he didn't even have to get that philosophical with it. The fact is, no, I like how he ended it, what he said before. Nobody, seriously, not one American should feel like they don't trust elections. Not one. You have half of the country that feels like that. You have half of the country that are on edge right now. Like, bro, like sitting on red D, like, yo, man, that better be up on the same night as, look, hey, y'all know, right? Because if, and I'm going to tell you, if I wasn't one who, now I've kind of realized it's different things and, I don't want to kind of get into that just yet, or, that'll be later. And you guys pretty much know who I am and how I talk or whatever, right? Like, to me, there's nothing on this earth, because we're in the world, but we're not of the world, right? And that's how it's supposed to be. So you have to understand that these kind of things cannot control you as a person to make you do something retarded. Ridiculous. Yeah. So, but there are people, because I might have been one of those. I'm glad I'm a little pulled away from a lot of this stuff, because I might have been one of them people like, man, they better have that ready. Or else what, right? Calm down, right? But even if it wasn't such a tense situation, Americans should never, not one American should ever feel like they don't trust the election process, because then you don't trust the country. But that's the problem. These people who they answer to lobbyists and everything else, they don't care. They've actually abandoned the American citizen a long time ago. But again, that's another episode. Guys, let me know how you feel about this. I'll see you guys at the next one. Bye.